Why Jubba's handbag with a footwing is a Mills and Boone, and it's a miracle. One I generally liked. I generally like this one. Okay, I went for it just for I wanted to do a Mills and Boone modern, like now, one that came out now, and it's based on Pride and Prejudice. Literally, it's called Pride and Italian's Proposal by Kate Hewitt. Now, also look at the front cover. Does that look like Jenna Coleman 21? Great with Jenna Coleman vibe. Okay, so Pride and Prejudice, famous book by Jane Austen, written in the early part of the 19th century. It's famous, it's a classic. I lived in Winchester for several years when I was at uni, where Jane Austen passed away. She's buried in Westminster Cathedral. I wrote an essay every year on Pride and Prejudice. I know my Pride and Prejudice. Okay, I really like this version. I've seen all the versions, adaptations, even the one with Mormons. There's a Mormon version of Pride and Prejudice. Yeah, okay, here we go. Fiery Liza Benton couldn't have dreamed that after being dragged into the life of the super rich, she'd be thrown into Fausto Dante's path. She can't stand his arrogance till a totally unexpected night of passion proves just how compatible they can be. Fausto knows that the dual personalities make Liza the last woman he should ever marry. She challenges him at every turn, but the chemistry is inescapable. So this proud Italian is determined to fight fire with fire by claiming Liza with a shocking proposal. Okay, so Liza is in her early 20s, Fausto is about 7 years younger, and how it opens, okay? Right, now obviously Pride and Prejudice is a truth universally accepted that any man with good fortune must be a wonderful wife, okay? Here we go. This starts out with Liza and Soho with her sisters, okay? Doing the tourist thing. It's the hair. Liza only moved to London from rural Herefordshire 6 weeks ago. I still feel a bit like a country mouse to a whole lot of sleek town mice. My younger sister Lindsay, visiting for the weekend with their mother Yvonne, was determined to be the belle of whatever ball or bar they frequented. Okay? So it starts off in this bar in Soho. Okay? People coming in, you know, loud noise, drinks, very expensive drinks at Soho after all. Okay? Right, and the interesting thing is this, obviously, because this is Pride and Prejudice set in modern day times, is I will give Kate Hewitt a lot of respect. Her dialogue feels very modern, but also a nice kind of take on Austen as well. You kind of get the Austen vibe running through it. Here we go. And also, this is when, because obviously there's 5 Benton sisters, of course I have it. Okay, this bit here. This is, here we go. Right. People thought her family were a little too different, a little too loud. Her lovable, eccentric father, her exuberant, over-the-top mother, and the 4 Benton girls. Pretty Jenna, Smart May, Fun Lindsay, and Liza. Well, actually there's 5 of them in the book, but not in this, okay? And it is very, very interesting, okay, the fact is that they missed one out, because I thought this would be like a good kind of take on all like the Benton sisters, like give them 1 book each, but no, sadly not. Okay. Right. Pretty Jenna, Smart Maria, Fun Lindsay, and Liza. I had no idea what a surrogate would be. Quiet, perhaps normal, dull. She never possessed Jenna's looks nor Maria's brains, definitely not Lindsay's vivacity. See what I mean? It's very Austen-esque in its dialogue. And then, straight away, Fausto comes in, okay, with his mate Charles, as in Charles Bingley, okay? Right. And Chaz and obviously it's love at first sight, and this bit here, okay. Right. This is right. The blonde chap set his sights on was indeed attractive in a rather simple way. There's no guile in her clear gaze, no depth to discover her inner open face. If Fausto concluded fairly, he would not necessarily consider her looks insipid. The second sister, who looked to still be in her teens, was all flash and flare, her makeup overdone, her light brown hair pulled into a high ponytail, a tight crop top emphasised her curvy figure. Look in her eyes was what Foster could call a vivacious, and his stomach tightened once more in sour anticipation of a most unpleasant evening. Okay, so that's the thing. As soon as Foster gets there, okay, he basically attacks the Benton sisters, the Benton family, okay, because their mom's over the top and exuberant, okay, and one of them's a teenager and just having fun, okay. See, the issue is this, okay, is the fact is that imagine Mr. Darcy, Pride and Prejudice Mr. Darcy, transported obviously into the real world. Foster's dialogue is so Darcy, okay, that obviously the man is based on. A good example of this is Lost in Austen, if you ever see it. Basically, a girl goes back in time and basically lives out Pride and Prejudice. Okay, and then Darcy comes into the modern day times. It is quite interesting. And in that book, she should say TV show should have got Wickham instead. Okay, and a good example of this, okay, is right. This is when because a famous bit in Pride and Prejudice where Darcy kind of slags off Elizabeth Bennet as she's walking past. She looked as plain as boring as the others, if not more so. She'd heard his damning statement, so indifferently given, where she'd gone to the bar and a word had scorched through her, branding her with their words, with their carelessly crude indictment. Here we go. Okay? It felt like Fausto Danti had ripped off the Bailey Hill scab covering the wound. She always done her best to hide from everyone, even herself. And I think calling back, okay, to how she feels about her sisters, she has this very much, and I could call her Liza. Liza has got a quite fairly complex okay about her sisters because she's the quiet one of the family, okay? She's the mouse, if you will. And it's given a bit of insecurity issues too, which I thought was quite a nice touch. Now, one thing that Kate Hewitt has done is really, really clever because you read this book if you know Pride and Prejudice, and when characters comes in with names or similar names to their counterparts, you expect them to kind of take on their counterparts. Like this bit here, okay? Right. She, right. She had everything about her job, the elegant high-ceiling offices in Holborn, with many bookcases and tall sash windows overlooking Russell Square. She loved her boss, the elderly man named Henry Bow, or Henry de Boer, or Henry de Bow, or Henry de Berg, okay, how it's pronounced, whose grandfather had founded the business 100 years ago. Now, in Pride and Prejudice, um, it's the Berg is basically the villain, if you will, Pride and Prejudice. They are the ones who turn around, okay, to Lizzie or Eliza and say that you're not good enough, okay, for my nephew, okay. Here it's Henry, and he's the shipper on deck. That's clever. That is taking the Pride and Prejudice characters and circumventing. I'm loving this book. I'm absolutely loving. And it is quite interesting, okay, because then Jenna, okay, is obviously going with Charles and they're loving each other and goes down to his place for a weekend to the posh people, okay? And the fact is, okay, once again, the book going in, that is when she gets sick from walking, and then Eliza goes and spends some time with her, and how she did it is quite a thing, okay? This bit here. Eliza, help, I've come down with the worst cold and everyone here is such a snob. I'm so miserable, please come and rescue me. Right. And the fact is, okay, it has to be a cold. It couldn't be anything else, okay? But it's called a cold. Please come down. Please come down, okay? And the thing is, one thing I did like, okay, is Chaz, or Charles Bingley, okay, is always happy to call Dante out, or Fausto out, on his arrogance and his behaviour. It is actually very, very clever, okay? Right. This is when he's talking to Chaz, okay, about um, the family. Those lucky people of class. Does that let out a huff of disbelieving laughter? You sound like about 100 years old. This isn't the 18th century, 1800s, Dante. It was an accusation Fausto had heard before from his friend. People weren't supposed to talk about class anymore, or the fact that someone position in society had a duty to uphold. You see what I mean? He's Mr. Darcy in the modern day times. You know what I was looking forward to? And this book doesn't have it. The jumping into a lake. It doesn't happen. I so hope it will happen. Mr. Darcy. Yes, I know it. Okay? Right. This is Darcy's point of view, because it's Pride and Prejudice after all. Okay? Right. When he married, it had to be to a woman of appropriate status and connections back in Italy from one of the ancient families he'd known for many years, who held the same values of honour and respect that he did, who knew enough to be his partner in running the vast Dante Empire, that he had been the promise he made to his dying father, and he'd intended to keep it. See what I mean? Right. Okay? Right. And it's interesting, okay, because when Eliza goes to the thing, and her and Darty bond, and if you've seen the Thomas Crown affair, okay, is when the male female, okay, it's had two different versions, okay, they're both very, very good. They bond over chess. It was parodied in Austin Powers too. Yes, they play chess. Liza and Dante bond over chess. They turn this chess game into a game of seduction, and it is quite cleverly written as well. They're both chess masters. Let's put it here. Right. Right. This bit here, this is like their like tete-a-tete to talk. Right. Right. Actually, I find the whole evening quite entertaining. You look quite live in your cosy little world, don't you? Said Liza. Foster drew back at this matter-of-fact remark. What is that supposed to mean? Liza shrugged slim shoulders. Odd, only it's quite a rarefied way of living. Doesn't it have any of the partly concerns most people do? Is that a criticism? Merely observation. I suppose you're right in a way. See what I mean? It's like a game of seduction over over chess. It's actually quite cleverly written. Okay. And the thing is, the case is, Amy comes in. Or Amy is Dante's ex, who basically was a gold digger, and that's kind of best was caused his pride, okay, and his prejudice. It's caused his prejudice against women like Liza, because due to the fact that he saw his teenage sister and her overbearing mother, he's got the idea in the head, okay, that Eliza and the family are gold diggers. There you go. Right. Yes, he knew about gold diggers and how guileless they could seem. Look at Jenna with that overblown cold she dreamed up. It attracted attention. It had, to his mind, been glaringly obvious. Well, Liza's response to him, some are the same. Well, both sisters hoping to snag rich husbands, or perhaps just rich benefactors. Yeah, no. Jenna actually comes down with a cold, okay? And back to Dante, it's a fake. To get both sisters here. So the game seduction can continue. Right. And of course, Wickham, okay, everyone knows Wickham in the book, he's a villain to piece, okay? Right, this is when she meets Wickham, okay, or Wickley, Jack Wickley. Now, in this book, well, in the original Pride and Prejudice, Jack Wickham was raised to be like a relation to Darcy. Their fathers worked together, and then Wickham kind of screwed it up. He tried to basically seduce Darcy's younger sister, and it all goes nuts. And then he goes after um, Eliza's sister. There you go. Okay. And this bit here, okay, called Pride and Prejudice. Okay. Right. Foster down, they cheated me out of my inheritance. Our fathers were great friends. Mine died, and then his died. And it always been an understanding between them that I would inherit a part of the estate and give a senior position with Dante Investments. Set my future on it, and Fausto refused to honour either agreement. Even though he knew, as I did, his father wanted nothing more to see me take over these parts of the family firm. It's also bad mouth me to everyone he knows. I haven't been able to hire anyone decent, even an introductory role. Okay? Because according to Wickham and Wickley, Fosso's father was jealous of because he was always jealous of the way his father preferred me. Never had a close relationship, and because he's petty and mean and spirited, and I'm sure you can find it out for yourself. Right. Right. Yes, so that's the kind of thing. When she meets Wickley, okay, that's virtually identical to the Pride and Prejudice version, okay? So Eliza's not a little bit bright, I think, in some places, okay? She acts like she is, but also, I mean, once again, it's Pride and Prejudice, okay? And the fact is, okay, this kind of Austen dialogue, Austen actually gets a name check at one point, comes into it. It's quite interesting, okay? This bit here. This is when Fausto's being Fausto. Right. I'm 36, I need to marry. She's different, her gaze still on the books. This is when they actually go away for a weekend. And when I do, must be to a woman to whom my family proves, someone who is capable of managing my family, standing by my side. How unbelievably quaint, Liza said after a moment. How absolutely archaic. I admit it is no old-fashioned view, but it's one I hold my position is most demanding. I'd be so for my wife. hmm hmm And I'm not in the running. Again he hesitated, and then decided truth was best. No. She turned to him with wild glint in her eyes. Because of my family, with whom you obviously find embarrassing, or because of me? He only met the family once in a bar, and he's decided, due to his prejudice, that they all, apart from obviously Jenna, he decided that they're not good enough for me. After meeting someone in a bar, it's like, dude, in a bar in Soho. I mean, trust me, acting nuts in a bar in Soho, okay? Soho's like free territory. You can be what you want in Soho, okay? But anyway, okay, they go away with Henry de Boa to like a lovely beach. It's in Norfolk. It's beautiful. And then either their seduction thing and that kind of stuff, they go out to the beach and they have sex, okay? Great. So straight after, okay, Foster was like, oh my god, what have I done? What have I done? Okay? And, you know, kind of freaking out about it. And then, of course, he does the Darcy thing. I was waiting for this. Right. I want to ask you something, he said. Liza shrugged, spreading her hands helplessly. What could you possibly want to ask me? I want, Faustus said, his voice low and firm with purpose, to ask you to marry me. Okay? Right. Liza's mouth stopped open and he regarded him silently for a few seconds before she shook his head. I was not expecting you to say that. I said it and I mean it. Why? First, because I care about you. Second, because we have an undeniable physical chemistry. Third, because you could be carrying my child. Right, okay. But of course, by this point, okay, Chaz has basically said to, sorry, Fausto has said to Chaz, basically kind of like push him away from Jenna, okay? And Liza knows this, okay? So it shows the back in his face, the whole kind of, as it's done in the original. And he's like, well, no, I kind of don't deny it. Your family isn't basically good enough, but I'm willing to lay down my pride and marry you, pretty much, okay? And the whole thing, okay, with Chaz Wickley, okay, is kind of not brush over quickly, okay, but it's kind of explained just in one paragraph, okay. Essentially, it's all rubbish, obviously, and Jack Wickley was embezzling from the company, and there you go. Moreover, I discovered that he had attempted to seduce my sister Francesca at a party 2 years ago. She was only 15, so if I distrust and dislike the man, sure you can understand why. I had no idea to spread this story you told me, so I can add deceit to his ever-greatness of sins. He drew a breath and now half relieved, he told her, having half ashamed that he had to. If you doubt my story, you can talk to Henry, or he knows the most of it. It's about my sister or Chaz. Okay? So Darcy actually had to save his company. Okay? But obviously, okay, Darcy and, sorry, call him Darcy, Dante and Liza, okay, break up, go their separate ways. And then Eliza's grandmother, I thought it was quite a nice touch, Eliza's grandmother wants to visit Italy. And so they take a visit to Pemberley. It's called it Pemberley. Yes. Yes, it's called the Villa di Parmerno. Okay, right. And yeah, I was waiting for this. This is when, okay, obviously they're there in Italy, they're looking around, okay, the Villa di Parmo. Okay, here we go. I did not get the late jump, and I was really hoping for that late jump. Right. He turned his head and seemed to still on his chest as he saw Eliza herself walking through the garden gates with an older woman. For a few seconds he couldn't make any sense of it. How could earth could she be here? It was a figment of his imagination, a fancy of his fevered mind. Then she looked up, her eyes widened with shock. I knew it was her. She was here in the flesh at Villa di Parmerno, the city must imagine, bringing her back as his bride. Mr. Darcy? I'm waiting to say that. So, yeah, so obviously back to the stay, the whole kind of thing with the grandmother. I started thinking the grandmother chaperone, okay? Because back in the day when women were being courted, okay, they had a chaperone. I saw grandmother as chaperone. Lovely. So, yeah, so the grandmother's obviously there as well, just kind of, push that along. And they bond and they meet, okay? And Liza gets to see how great Fausto is with his employees, and his sister's lovely. And it's actually quite sweet, okay, because obviously Pride and Prejudice, she saw this tough businessman, not realising that in Italy he was the sweetest man ever, and at the special fate they put on for the staff, the higher ups serve the staff. Here you go. Here you go. They're here. You are a wonderful employer by all accounts, a wonderful Comte de Parmerno. He spoke his title with an Italian accent that made Faster smiles even as he ached. He hadn't expected his conversation to be so sweet or so hard. Thank you, Liza. I hope there be no hard feelings between us after everything. My psyche won't see each other after today. It's like two part on a good note. She stays the night. She stays the night. Okay? Right. There you go. And once again, Eliza's insecurities coming again about her sisters. And I really, really want to meet the rest. Here you go. I've never been as pretty as Jenna, or as spirited as Lindsay, or as clever as Maria. Okay? Maria's the one we haven't met. Maria's Mary, obviously. Mary Bennett. Maria, I haven't met her. No, although you might like her the best. She's quiet and bookish. I like you the best, he said, and he rolled over. Okay, fine, I have. Yes, yes. Now, now, also with this story is this. Now, I think with this Pride and Prejudice adaptation, that Kate Hewitt kind of wrote herself into a corner because the whole thing with, Wickham and Kitty, yeah, is, obviously in Pride and Prejudice they run off together and get married, and then Darcy has to go and kind of like sort it out. Okay, this is what happens, and maybe it's just me, okay, because obviously you got to keep in tone of the book, okay, but at the same time I thought this felt very, very cruel. Here we go. Right, this is when, okay, basically, right, right, Lindsay, okay, right, sister Lindsay. Lisa went to London for the weekend. Jenna explained. Remember, it's her 18th. Yes, Liza said. Well, anyway, she told Mum she was seeing me, but she wasn't. She met some guy in a club the last time she was here. He invited some dealers party this weekend. Honestly, it sounded dire. What happened? Well, don't know details. I'm sure I want to. Deza said with some quiet grimness. She got involved with some minor celebrity at a party. I haven't heard of him, but Mum had. And Liza asked, as everything now went tenser. No photos involved, nude photos. Okay? And this guy she was with, Jack, is apparently threatening to sell him to the tabloids. Because this celebrity is apparently big enough for that if they don't pay out. So essentially, Wickham, or Wickley, who at this point wouldn't know about Liza Gillen with Dante, because Pretty Fitness split up, okay, took a barely underage girl, just turned 18, to this pub. Now, or this club. Now, I started thinking, hold on, this should have been gone a bit of detail, given a bit more thought, because if alcohol was involved, it could be a bit more serious again in pictures being taken. Yeah. But that's not even focused on. It's kind of brushed aside. It kind of annoyed me a little bit. Hold on. A vulnerable teenager, something else is going to happen to her. Okay? And they're not even addressing this, and that kind of annoyed me. Okay? The whole kind of that Lindsay is just a stupid teenager when she's a teenager who got plied of alcohol and basically taken advantage of. Yeah. But that's the author writing herself into a corner because that is, you gotta keep with the tone of the book. There's more focus on her education. This bit here, okay? Right. Worried for Lindsay's well-being, of course, but also thinks she's afraid of her being expelled from school right in the middle of her A-levels. There was zero tolerance policy for that sort of thing. As she is expelled at university, Liza finished numbly. But her sisters seem scatterly attitude. She had brains, and she offered a place to study business in Manchester. If she's expelled, she could still wind up doing her A-levels, okay? A whole life could be derailed, Jenna concluded. Not to mention the humiliation and hurt it would feel. I know Lindsay acts shamelessly, but she isn't really. She's been reckless and silly. I know that, but she doesn't deserve this. She's trying to act as if she doesn't care, but I think she must. She's been reckless and silly. No, she has been taken advantage of, plied with alcohol. Right, so not reckless and silly. Okay, she's been assaulted. Right, but obviously all this happens, okay, off the book, which is something I wish, you know, basically Dante goes and sorts it out with Jack. Basically it's, saves the family's reputation. Good old Hewitt coming in as he does in the book. There's only part of the book I don't like, okay? Right, and the thing is always this. Now obviously, no original Pride and Prejudice, Darcy's mother's dead. In this, very, very much alive, okay, Viviana, okay? And the first thing she does is basically become Lady Catherine de Boer. There you go. Right. Straight away. There you go. I thought my son had this straight away, not even a moment. I'll give you an incentive along with a warning, Rihanna replied. I thought my son had outgrown such foolish fancies, but appears he hasn't. How much will it take? 50,000, 100? Right. She smiled coolly and Liza took a sudden step back. No wonder Fausto worried about gold diggers. How much did this Amy taken? Right. I've absolutely no wish to take a penny from you, she said coldly. And don't worry, because I don't intend to see Fausto again. Now, if you excuse me, I need to find my grandmother. And then they go, and obviously it's all sorted out. Obviously, Liza and Fausto get married. Chaz and Jenna get married. It's a double wedding as it is with the original book. Now, apart from that subplot with Lindsay, okay, I absolutely loved it. The author has this skill of really kind of getting to the characters and Pride and Prejudice. Austen will be proud of this, of an adaptation. It's well written. The sentence structure, it felt so Austen. Okay, I'm going to be talking about Austen, but this is an impressive book. The author knows her characters, if you will, and I like the way he does kind of circumvent them in many, many ways. So obviously, okay, we met two of the sisters, and we want to meet the other two. I find out what's going on with their lives, especially with Mary, the youngest. So I will recommend Pride and Italian's Proposal by Kate Hewitt. Now I literally got to go back to the library today. And 41 Years in Mills and Booth. Sign off everyone, take care. And bye now.